Hey everyone, this is Alan from EV News, and today I had to bring out the shirt and tie to talk to you guys about something extremely serious. Recently, the market has been an absolute bloodbath. This is the point in time where a lot of inexperienced investors will lose a lot of money, while experienced investors will be looking to add more shares and hold the companies that they own. It has never been more relevant and important to know what you own. Today, I want to go over my prediction for 2021 and the rest of this year in the stock market. I'm going to be using some information from last year and talk about companies that haven't really rebounded, and that if you don't know what you own and if you're in industries that might not make it into the future, this is what you could be looking at. Now, of course, I'm extremely bullish in the EV industry, but not all EV stocks are created equal. So you must do your own research and your own due diligence. I am not a financial advisor, but I'd like to ask you guys to go over your portfolio and take a look at all the companies you own and ask important questions. Are these companies going to be profitable? Are these companies part of the future? Are these companies that I believe in and that I'm willing to hold no matter if the stock keeps going down or if it was to rebound? You must ask these important questions. I'd like to ask you guys to go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Let's get into my prediction for what will happen the rest of this year in 2021 and why you must know what you own. Let's go. What I'd like to talk to you guys about first today is where my knowledge really is and where my specialty lies, and that's in the EV industry. I have been studying the electric vehicle industry quite obsessively and quite diligently for the last 9 months, and I can tell you almost everything about every company. I can tell you where they seem to be moving in the future and how bullish I am on specific companies. I can tell you everything from the battery charging to the vehicles to the batteries to the actual minerals and even rare earths. So I have this huge knowledge bank that I'm not going to share individual stocks today. I'm just going to look at this from a general perspective and tell you why I still believe that the EV industry is the best place for your investments and for your money moving forward. Now, the reason why is because this is not just some individual company, for example, let's say it's just like Tesla, who's just pushing the electrification of our automotives or of our public transportation. And now even today, they're pushing for the electrification of the air mobility. This is a collective movement and a collective motion by the entire world. So you have the United States. We'll just look at them first. And the United States really is in the infancy of its electrification movement. So you have specific companies that have already kind of established themselves, for example, like Tesla, or for example, Proterra, who owns half of the electric buses in the United States. But you just have this in its infancy with lots of startups and lots of companies pushing for this movement. And then when we shift over to Europe, and in Europe, what we see is a much more aggressive EV agenda. So you have the charging stations, the infrastructure is already being built. There's already charging hubs around major cities. And then of course you have the mining industry there, and you have the electric battery companies that are really aggressively pushing this motion forward. And then when we move into China, of course, they have their own agendas for EVs 2025, no more internal combustion engine sales by 2030. So the world is really pushing this EV industry movement forward. This is not just an isolated company that's trying to make the electrification of our society or of our world happen. This is a global effort, and that's why I still believe today that the EV industry doesn't matter where you really invest. I mean, of course, not all companies are created equal. You have some that are just startups, you have some that are more established. So it doesn't matter really across the board. You can invest either in China or in Europe or in the United States. Wherever you invest, though, I still believe it is a good place to put money. I mean, I've even been reading about how India is pushing for their EV agenda, and how you even have Africa also looking into pushing the EV agenda as well. You have companies like Blink Charging that are trying to move into Central and South America. So this is a global effort. This is not just some isolated company. So with that being said, I believe that the EV industry, even though it's had a nice little dip here or a correction, or however you want to look at it over this last couple of weeks, I still believe this is a great place to put money, and this is a great investment into the future. They say it's almost impossible to try to predict the stock market, but I would argue that it is possible to predict the industries in the stock market and where they're going. So that is what I want to talk about today. If you are holding companies or you're invested in industries that aren't part of the future or that just don't have a very positive outlook in the future, this is what you can anticipate moving forward here in 2021. What I want to do is take us back to 2020, basically a year ago today, end of February 2020, when we were in the middle of this pandemic and we were in the middle of one of the worst market crashes in the last decade. During that time, there was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of people were panicking and worrying about their own personal future, their own financial future, and of course the future on the stock market. I remember reading a lot of blogs and posts and people were like, this is it, it's over, investing will never be the same. However, when I looked at things from a global perspective, I could see that a lot of industries would take off and a lot of them would not bounce back. So I did not put any of my money into the companies that I did not believe were for the future. And that's what I want you to do. Go through your portfolio and take a look at your companies and your stocks and say, are these part of the future? Are these things that I believe are going to make an impact? Will they be profitable in the future? And do I believe that they are part of our future? Now, let's go back and talk about those industries. So the first thing I want to talk about, and it's pretty obvious, was like the travel industry. During the pandemic, everything shut down. So travel did not take off. And in fact, travel has suffered. And the aviation companies still have not bounced back. As things are slowly opening, you can see the little momentum moving up. And then with that being said, you have like hotel companies as well, like Marriott or Hyatt, that literally dipped hard and then slowly, and they're almost about to break even to where they were at that time before the crash. Another thing that we could have looked at during that is like, all right, well, what about retail? Well, people stopped shopping and moved everything online. So you had e-commerce that really took off then. And I don't see why in 2021 e-commerce still won't be king over retail industry. So if you're invested in retails, you really need to do a deep dive into the companies that you're holding. And you really need to do a deep dive into the industry in general and see where it's moving going forward. I would hate to see a lot of people like invested today have to hold bags or hold their companies for over a year if they drop and if they just continue to drop like we've had during the last 2 weeks. Even in the EV industry, like I mentioned, not all stocks are created equal. Some have profits, some are already gaining a lot of revenue, and some have this like outlook for like 2025, 2027, 2030. I mean, is this really the best places to be putting money right now? Those are questions that you need to ask yourself. And then another thing that we could have easily have predicted back then was like, we're in a pandemic, so we could have put money into the biotech. Well, this pandemic is slowly appearing to be coming to an end as vaccines are coming out. Will biotech stocks still play a huge role here in 2021? Those are questions that you need to ask yourself, and you need to do a deep dive into these industries. Another thing is the oil and gas. I'm not saying oil and gas is not essential. I know it's a huge part of our modern day society. It's what's helped build this, and it will still be around. I do not see oil and gas going anywhere, but as you probably know, and if you're invested in it, these stocks have not rebounded. And while our world was going through this pandemic, the global consciousness was shifting to like, let's take better care of our planet. This is the only place we have. We need to be better to ourselves, to our environment, to the future, to our children, to everything about life. And what has happened was the big shift from like oil and gas switching over to renewable energies, switching over to electrification of our transportation. And if you look at those stocks from then, you can see a huge takeoff basically in the EV industry and in the renewable and sustainable sectors. So my advice to you guys is to take a look at the industries that you're in and be careful, because if this correction or this like dip that we've had in the past 2 weeks is any indication from like last year, this could be the time when literally those stocks just like sidebar. They never trade up, they never take off again. They might have little spikes here and there, or it could even continue to dip, while other companies, like for example, the industry that I'm very bullish on, could continue to rise and take off. So you need to do your own research. You need to take a look into your own portfolio, and this is what you could see for the rest of 2021. I think this is almost like a second wave, that the companies that didn't make it before in 2021, the oil and gas, retail, aviation, travel, things like this, even gyms never really like bounced back. They're still kind of sitting down low. This is what could happen. This could be the next second wave for stocks. and companies like that don't have product, companies that are all hyped up for like 2025, 2026, 2027. We could see ourselves literally like holding stocks for the next years, and they might not take off, while other companies that literally already generate revenue or already have product, they could continue to see substantial growth moving forward. So that's my like warning, and that's just like what I personally believe is going to happen here in 2021. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Know what you own. I can't reiterate that enough. You must know which companies you own. You must know where they're going moving into the future. You must know the industry that you're in. You must become almost obsessed with your companies, and you must literally become passionate about investing. It's really the only way to feel secure and safe during this time. If you believe that the future is electric, then you are not going to sell. I know a lot of my subscribers are heavy into EVs because I recommend that, and I am all EVs. So I have no intention of selling any of my stocks until the long-term future. I didn't even really anticipate much of this bull run happening until like 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. So we were blessed, and we were blessed literally with this big bull run in the past couple months, but I didn't even anticipate that until 2022, 2023, when literally the EV movement and this EV effort, global effort, will be so much more advanced than we are today. So know what you own, you guys. It's extremely important. If not, you're going to be caught in what might be like this dip, and your stocks might continue to dip, and it might just sideways trade for the next year, just like back in 2020 with these other industries that I mentioned earlier. So once again, know what you own. This is Alan from EV News. I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope this brings some hope and some inspiration into those who are in the EV industry, and hopefully you guys know what you own and you are passionate and you are as excited as I am about the future. I'll talk to you guys soon. See you in the next video. Bye.